So who here wants to get curious? I just want to say I'm really excited to be here. And also I just want to thank Cheryl for inviting me and all the amazing speakers that are here today. I am just pumped. So let's start with the question. Raise your hands if you want less stress, better health, more happiness. I think we all do. Well, we got the first answer right then, didn't we? Okay, but why settle for that when you can have it all? So raise your hand again if you want to achieve all your dreams, find your life purpose, and live an exceptional, unlimited life. And say, hell yes! Hell yes! That's what I want to hear. But where are you now? Well, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed because the world is changing rapidly and you're struggling to keep up. As a result, maybe you've noticed not only is your life manic, but your thoughts are too. To cope, you decide to plough yourself into self-development, but you're finding that you're still not achieving your dreams. Possibly feeling stressed. Life is out of control. Maybe you're anxious, depressed, or even getting close to burnout. You're not alone. And potentially even losing yourself in Netflix and binge eating, potentially even going down the route of relying on substances like alcohol or drugs as a way to cope, or even worse, potentially harming yourself or others. But if you ignore these symptoms, they might not just affect your lifestyle, but actually your health with far more sinister consequences. Ultimately risking the quality, even length of your life. So where do you want to be? Picture a time when you've regained control. Here, you feel empowered at last. Imagine you are living your dreams now. You've reached your potential and you are earning the money that you deserve. Envisage functioning from a place of inner confidence. Here, people are actually coming up to you saying, wow, you look amazing. What's your secret? And envisage knowing the true art of living. So if this is where you are and you want to take control and have an ultimate life, would you agree you might need a new strategy? Because the strategy I'm going to share with you today will radically transform your life just by becoming curious. Now, what do I mean by becoming curious? Well, I just want you to take a moment now to think about what Katie did earlier. She actually got you to think about having fun. And part of that process involves your curiosity. So let's have a look right now at what curiosity actually is. Because quite honestly, there are very few books on it and even less specialists, which means that not many people know anything about it. Is it a trait? Is it an emotion? Is it a feeling? Is it a trait or a skill? Is it even a muscle? Well, it's all those things and more. So, the definition of curiosity is interest leading to inquiry. Now that involves questioning, and questioning could be perceived as your engine to find information, or the desire to know, learn, or explore. I like to use to feel as well. Ultimately, also including the fuel. It is the fuel. So together, it's both the fuel and the engine that gets you from where you are to where you want to be. So, how many here have thought, didn't curiosity kill the cat? Well, actually, That old proverb was taken completely out of context from a Shakespeare play. Had nothing to do with curiosity, by the way. But think back to when you were a child, wanting to learn, wanting to explore. What's amazing is that your curiosity enabled you to do all those things without fear. Imagine that, living without fear. And what's amazing as well is that when you look at all the great achievers throughout history to date, you might think that the one commonality between them all is their intelligence, possibly they're creative, but actually creativity and intelligence are direct results of curiosity. So curiosity helps you to become successful. It is the commonality between all great achievers. And why is that? Well, when you look at problem solving, the ability to solve problems requires what? Questioning. Questioning also enables you to find the answers that you seek. So what successful people ultimately are doing is they're getting too busy trying to find the solutions. Which means, what is the rest of us doing? We're too busy living in fear. We're too busy listening to that voice in our head that says, you can't do that. So, what's really going on at the very base of all this is an inability to rationalize fear over rewards. That's it. Fear over rewards. And if we can do that, we can then start to seek the rewards that we're looking for. Make sense? Are you with me? Cool. Okay. So, why now? Well, the world is gone a bit crazy, let's face it. And, you know, there is so much going on within our worlds, you know, our phones, the distractions, the constant distractions that are just causing us to lose focus. And actually, when we want to find information, what do? We Google it. But you see, curiosity is also a muscle that, if not used, deteriorates. So never has there been a time in history when our coping mechanisms have been hit on all sides. Never have we, had to deal with, social media and the negativity that brings. Never have we been more disconnected. And when we look at health issues, they're spiraling exponentially, totally disproportionate to investment in research. Have you ever wondered why? I have. So when you look at stress, the number one killer and cause of over 60% of all illness and disease. By the way, that's spiraling year on year. Health professionals are now calling it a psychological pandemic, costing UK businesses $35 billion just in sickness, plus an additional $68 billion in lost productivity, according to the charity Mind. So, it's a shitstorm, basically. But I believe how you not only treat it, but prevent it is profoundly simple and best described through just being curious. And also, when we look at emotional intelligence, the ability to be aware, to manage ourselves, what's at the basis of emotional intelligence? You need curiosity. You need to be able to ask yourself these questions to become aware. You need to be able to ask questions to manage yourself. And what that means is, if we can manage ourselves that little bit better, we might be able to start getting the results that we're looking for. And actually, I just want to add, one of my clients works in South Wales Valley. She was, South Wales Valley's, you probably know this, very underprivileged area. And she was a social worker for 30 years. She came to me after leaving, and I talked to her about curiosity, and she said, you know, what's really interesting about emotional intelligence, you have, you know, all these people talking about emotional intelligence and the result being resilience. I'm pretty sure all of you people here in the audience are pretty resilient. Pretty sure you've been through some stuff. Those people in South Wales have also been through stuff. They live through shit every day. But what makes them, what can make the difference is their curiosity. Because the reason why is because it gives them the action to get out of the shit they're in. So, why do I know? Angry rain, typical for March, thrums upon the window of this bay window in 2015. And the weather outside has got to be a direct result of my thoughts and feelings. Here she comes. She's a Charlie's Angels lookalike. She's got that striking blue eyes, perfectly flicked dark hair. You know the one I'm talking about. And she's tiny, gorgeous looking woman. And she is thriving. Have you ever asked yourself what the difference is between those who are thriving and barely surviving? And as I'm looking at her, I'm thinking, yeah, and now I'm wondering what the difference is. Coffee assails my senses, and the sound of china plucks at my nerves. Tracy has been my friend since I was 21 when I came over to the UK, and we're sitting in our favourite cafe for calories, coffee, and secret women's business. The waitress leaves the lattes and walks away, and Tracy looks at me. Jesus Christ, Mel, you look like shit. What the hell's going on? She thanks Trace. I'd love to say the same about you. I don't know, my mind just won't work. It won't work. I can't seem to punch through thoughts. I don't know what's going on. But I'm stuttering. I've just been to the doctor, and after a military lineup of precisely executed yes, no, yes, no, yes, no questions, shot at me like a machine gun, he prescribes antidepressants. And then he says, if nothing clears up within a month, I'll test for Alzheimer's. Trace, I'm telling you, it's not depression. I mean, I've lived with depression for 10 years or more. It's not depression. And every single, bone in my body is saying, don't take the drugs. But what am I going to do? What would you do? Good choice. Well, Mel, it's any surprise. I mean, on a good day, between your business and running the kids around with all their extracurricular activities, I don't know how the hell you do it, let alone after the months you've had. You've lost the house in Italy, you're trying to move house, you're trying to keep the house like a show home, and, between the business and everything else, honestly, I don't know how you do it. Yeah. That's it. And it just got worse. I had a phone call from my dad. Mum's just been taken into hospital with a suspected heart attack. And between that, I can't leave here. I can't. But what else am I going to do? Have you ever had a time where you just thought, life is so shit? It doesn't matter how hard you try. It's just shit. And it just keeps getting worse. So here I am, 3 years later, and Tracy looks at me. We're in our secret women's business cafe, and she says to me, "My God, Mel, you look amazing." Here I am. That was me before. "You look amazing. You've lost 5 dress sizes, written 3 books. Wow, and you seem so calm and content. What have you done? What's your secret?" "Well, you know me, Trace. I had to find another way. There was no way I was going to take the tablets. I couldn't function on taking antidepressants. I had too much to do. So I started looking into what was wrong with me. And I realised that actually I had brain fog. And the doctor didn't even diagnose me in the 10 minutes that he gave me. So I, started looking into my diet, looking into the stress. Of course, those two, the combination, were causing the brain fog. So no cake for me. And then I started looking at mindfulness. But here's the thing. Have you ever tried to be mindful with a mind full of monkeys swinging on your neural branches? Let me tell you, you've got a better chance of swimming in treacle. And the more I told them to pipe down, the more they multiplied, like gremlins in water. So I felt worse. I felt like a failure. Have you ever tried to be mindful and realised that it's really quite difficult? So I then started looking at why my mind had these monkeys. Where did they come from? And actually, that took me down a rabbit hole of total discovery and radical transformation, where I managed to actually quieten those monkeys. I started to learn about myself, not from a superficial level, by the way, but from a scientific level of understanding the human condition. And I realized that it all started in my mind. Now, I tried everything. I tried various different things, and, I managed to work a way around how to actually get myself better to this particular point in time. But there wasn't a particular thing that I did. In fact, most things I tried, I really struggled with. But I realise now that the one thing I had was my curiosity. So, Mel, I can't believe that the doctor didn't diagnose the mind fog, but perhaps you should write about it. Tell the world what you did. Have you ever had a time when you thought, actually, maybe she's right. Maybe I found something. But the old monkey's piped up again. Who the hell do you think you are? You're not a doctor. You don't know anything. Well, I went down the route of looking at the science and realised that my one commonality between it all, everything I did, came down to my curiosity. And here's the thing. It cost me nothing. And it's a totally unlimited resource. And what I realised is that my curiosity was what saved me. So I've developed a system, which is a thinking system, because I don't know about you, but when you're in school, were you ever taught how to think effectively enough to deal with stress, to deal with life? No. We were taught how to read, write, and calculate, but we weren't taught the most important thing. So I'm here to teach my clients how to think through situations more effectively by using a really scientific approach, which is grounded in science. I've taken 7 years to ground my theory in science. And the very first element is to check in on yourself. Now, I just want you to pay attention right now. I don't know whether you know this, but one of the main reasons why you learn so much so quickly is, guess what? Through, well done. Jim Quick actually talks about using curiosity as the best method for learning and retention. So to check in on yourself, this is the foundation of emotional intelligence, because obviously unless you know what's going on, then you can't deal with the situation. So this is where you get to take control. I teach my clients a 7-step process on how to check in on themselves, which enables them to gain control of a situation. I don't know if you've ever suffered with anxiety, but if you have, then I'll share with you a little trick now. I found that there is a publication, I can't quite remember the publication now, but actually excitement and anxiety actually produce the same symptoms, but they use the different energy systems. So when you're in anxiety, and believe me, I've suffered with major panic disorder, which is anxiety on steroids. When you're in that moment, all you need to do is ask yourself, what am I excited about? And you can flip that energy system to your advantage. And then that will downregulate your stress hormones. And it also improves your cognitive functioning. It actually engages the neocortex of your brain, which is your rationalizing part of the brain. So here I teach my students my clients I should say, how to check in on themselves so that they can get control of a situation. And once we get control of a situation, very quickly we want to be able to understand the situation. We want to know what's going on. And so here we start to look at how you feel, what you're thinking in your brain and your body, and also your physicality, which all plays a part in what's going on in that moment. Because how many times have you actually come out of a situation and think, how the hell did that spiral so quickly? Chances are it had something to do with your emotions, your previous experiences, which all feed into that moment. Because the reality is that 95% of the time we are actually in automatic mode. And between automatic mode and not thinking effectively for ourselves, we're actually living in the past most of the time. So here we get to understand the situation so that we can deal with it more effectively. And one of the things that this actually does, it also reduces your biases, which is really important because then you can start to see potentialities more effectively. The reality of a situation is incredibly important. Once you understand, once you've got control and you understand what's going on with you, of course, then you need to understand what's going on in your reality of a situation. Now, to give you an example, Elon Musk actually hit a problem when he was producing Tesla, in the early stages of Tesla. And actually, he couldn't get the price of the battery down. And literally everyone in the world, you can imagine the type of people that he would have access to, all said to him the price of the battery could not get any lower. But Tesla was actually contingent on the price of this battery. So he had no choice. He had to find a way. So what he did is he got really curious about the components of a battery and then actually worked out how to build his own battery. And as a result, he built a £1 billion business off that problem. So that's how you flip problem into opportunity, through curiosity. Here I teach my clients a very simple 5-step solution, which is a very scientific approach called first principle thinking, which was actually originates from Aristotle's scientific approach of thinking. And Elon Musk actually named it first principle thinking. So here I teach people the 5 steps on how to actually find the solution to a problem. so that you can begin to flip challenge to opportunity. And believe me, anyone can do this. If you think Elon Musk is the only person in the world that can do this, I did this because when I had a problem in trying to find an app to actually produce a way of, or to deliver my system, I couldn't find anyone to actually get it. Well, I couldn't get it any lower than 100,000, which is a lot of money. And I don't know whether you know this, but only 5% of investment goes to women. So I had to find another way, and I used my curiosity to become really resourceful. And then once we move to improving, just ask yourself, how can I improve this situation? You immediately engage your prefrontal cortex. And when we look at Robert Kiyosaki, he did a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Amazing book. I hope you read it. And in essence, one thing that comes out of it is the poor dad asked, or said a statement, I can't afford it, from which you can't move from that statement. The rich dad always said, how can I afford it? Big, big difference. So I teach people here how to believe in hope, how to use hope to your advantage. And together with your curiosity, you can find the answers you seek. Solve for happy. Again, this guy lost his son, really difficult situation. I don't think anything could be worse. And at the very point where he turned things around, he asked himself, do I want to live in shit? Do I want in my mind? He was, having to face the burial of his son, or do I want something different? And this is when we need to, look at the risk over rewards here. And so I teach my students how to get into that very point of power that changes everything. And I think Tony Robbins also said it's in moments of decision where your destiny is formed. Yeah. So the objective, you need to know where you're going. And here I teach my clients how to actually work out what they want, because it's amazing how many people don't know what they want, especially if you're dealing with stress. But here it is actually quite easy to find out what it is what you want, so that you can then move to a goal, because curiosity is about goal seeking. And then finally, to unlock unlimited potentials. I don't know whether you know this, but there's a guy called Stephen Kotler who actually talks about flow. One of the things that curiosity does is get people into flow. So what this means is that you really, really reduce your monkeys here, and you are able to get the results that you're looking for. And all the time, your brain is rationalizing, monkey, 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 is telling you, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But here I teach people a very simple way of unlocking your thought processing to move you directly towards the goals that you seek. Because curiosity actually bypasses your fears, biases, and limiting beliefs to get you exactly what you want. And in addition to that, because it is unlimited, there is no limit to what you can do. And finally, to solve and then self-actualize. To move beyond resilience and into readiness, so that in future, when challenge presents, you know what to do. And in fact, this is where you begin to dance in uncertainty. So altogether, it spells curious. Boom. There we go. So I have a system that I've developed which is available on web browser, on app format, or even on TV. And it's a thinking system, a very scientific approach to how you can rationalize risk over reward and get the life you deserve. Thank you very much.